And if you gotta crawl, if you gotta roll, if you gotta motherfucker do the worm dance to get there, or however you need to do it.
Welcome.
Back, man.
Whatever.
Man, y'all should see what be going on.
Listen.
Behind the scenes on this shit. This shit gets crazy. We back, man. 2 and a 4, episode 25.
Quarter till 100.
Quarter till, man, that's a quarter. That's a big deal, man. Every week?
Yeah.
Don't sleep on it.
Yeah.
It's a journey, man. It's definitely a journey.
And I think that every week thing is kind of going to dovetail into what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so I didn't really want to talk about it. I just thought it would be an interesting conversation to have around perfection. And when I was riding in the car, I was thinking, I was looking at trees, right? And I think we see. Okay, let's define some terms. Perfection as the enemy of progress, or the enemy of perfection, however you want to look at it. As looking at a thing being perfect, you lose track of the perfection in the progress, in the growth of the thing, in the motion, right? So I think that is like where I want to at least start the conversation. Like, as we move, to me, the perfection is in the movement, not in the space, not in the place where you are. Like, you can have a tree, right? That's what made me think of it, driving and looking at a tree. Tree has all kinds of imperfections. Lightning done hit it, and the shit is tilted a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But in what it is, how it grew from a seed into this big ass thing, every day it grows a little bit, dog. And what it does to grow is perfect, right? And it's not yet. Perfection is impossible because it never gets to a completed state. It's always growing until it's dead, right? So perfection is in the motion, not in the moment. That's what made me think about it. So,
and I think
thoughts on that.
I think the tree is a good analogy, because I think the perspective of the individual looking at the tree,
right,
has a different perspective than the tree itself.
Right.
And then the composition, the things that make up the tree probably have a different composition than the tree itself. And then the people who are even looking at the tree, and then further and further and further down, right? And so at each individual, from each individual perspective, there is a degree of perspective, of perfection, and desire to move the thing from one state of being to another.
Right.
Because even through the perspective of the tree itself, without having any, or at least my idea of it, the tree not having any concept of time, it's where it is now, but there's still the things that make up the tree actually want it to grow. And so they're pushing to expand the branches, to expand the roots, to get deeper down, to get the nutrients or whatever it is. And so there's perfection from each perspective.
Yes.
But there still is a thing that says grow, change, move from one state of being to another.
Right.
And I think from your perspective, or at least from what I'm imagining when I thought the conversation is, how do you appreciate where you are and balance that with the idea of wanting to actually grow.
Well,
and grow might not necessarily even be the best term to use. So
right.
I'm okay with throwing that bitch away.
It's I think, and this is what I thought about, and again, dog, I'm working this out in my mind. I think that the perfection is in the motion of the thing, not in the state, right? So yes, if you got a tree that's growing, and I hope we don't stick on this tree shit the whole time. We got a tree that's growing, the state that it's in is not necessarily perfect, but the motion, the movement in it moving from that state to the next state is where the perfection is. And from the former state to the current state is where the perfection is. So just like you said, if the roots grow a little bit and they reach down and get a little more nutrients, that's perfection. If the leaves stretch out a little bit and they get a little more sunlight, that motion to do that is perfection. To me, the perfection is in the motion. So if I say something is perfect, it means that the shit is moving, that is growing and is living, and that is the perfection, not in the thing, because the thing can always, there's always something that can be done to it to make it better.
I don't know why there's a feeling that I have in my stomach talking about this. And I don't know where that's coming from. And I think it stems from the idea of how hard I am on things.
Yeah, you are, dog.
And how much it
and how dope you are. Like,
yeah, it's
that's the conflict. That's the motherfucking rub part right there. That you do great things, but you don't even.
And so there are things that you and I struggle with.
Of course.
Related to this podcast, right?
Always.
And related to, and I think it even goes back to some of the shit. Remember we were trying to do the gigs during the pandemic and shit, and all that testing and stuff we would do on the back end.
Shout out to Corey T.
Yeah, shout out Corey. I've gotten better at it, bro, because I think the overarching thing, I think we're looking at different pieces of the process and calling one thing perfect versus the other.
Yes.
And I think it's important to remind us of that.
And both things are true.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yes.
Right.
Because I look at where we are, bro, and I look at because a part of perfection in my mind is always fighting slight.
Yes. Always
fighting the concept of comfort, normalcy, quote unquote subpar, not giving your all. And I am extremely hard on this. And don't get me wrong, I know I slack and I'm slight in a lot of areas. But a part of what drives, I think a part of what drives the concept of perfection to me is understanding that we have built in mechanisms to be slight as individuals. Okay. In terms of pretty much everything that we do. And what can we implement from a code standpoint, from an algorithm standpoint, that kind of offsets that without, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't want to do a lot of shit, bro.
Absolutely.
But because I said I'm going to do it,
right,
I'm going to do it.
And you got a motherfucker on the other end who's holding you accountable to do the shit. That even when those slight mechanisms kick in, right, you know that it's a motherfucker for me, it's somebody that I know that I need, that we said we were going to do something. We said we about it, and we need to get it done. So that to me holds me accountable. And again, I'm like you, dog. Sometimes it's like this shit just happened. But I think we have, in terms of this thing, have come a long way in figuring that shit out and moving around that shit. Sometimes, some days is better than others, but we've come a long way. And I think that growth, right? No matter, I don't give a fuck if it's that much or if it's that much. I think there's perfection in that growth.
Because you got two whole separate motherfuckers, right?
Right.
Two whole separate ways of doing things.
Yep.
Two whole separate sets of standards.
Yep. And for real, I don't like that motherfucker. Sometimes I'll be like, I really don't like this nigga.
Bro.
Like,
I say it about you all the time.
Yeah.
And so, what does it look like for two whole grown motherfucking men coming together with these different set of standards to say, hey, let's do this thing?
Right.
And how do you manage the disagreements? And how do you manage the conflict? And how do you do that in a way that acknowledges and gives space to the other person?
And how do you fight that slight?
Yeah.
That your own personal slight. And not even slight. Sometimes it's your own personal shit. Like, you can have something, it's not necessarily, I guess it's slight, but it's your own personal, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're going through, whatever you're feeling in the moment. What do you do? And for me, I have to implement the understanding that this is bigger than that. Whatever the fuck that is, that slight, that whatever, what we're doing, what we're creating is bigger than that shit. So
what do I do if I don't feel that? What do I do if I feel like you don't feel that way about this thing? Or let me rephrase that. What do I do if I feel like your actions don't reflect that?
Well, we have a conversation about it.
So I would initiate a conversation?
If that's the only way that I know that's how you felt.
Because a part of it, okay, I see what you mean.
I mean, if I don't know, if you have a perception, I don't know that perception unless you say something. Okay. And it's normally 9 times out of 10 a level of misunderstanding about this shit. Or it's a level of how you interpret something. You can interpret something different than how I intended it.
And I want to be clear. I'm not saying I feel that way. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, if it's so, because again, it's two people.
Yeah.
And I feel like my idea of my standard. Let me ask a different question. Yep. Do you feel as if I'm trying to be too perfect at times?
I don't know what the fuck too perfect look like, but I think that, me knowing you, and I think this is, we differ a lot, dog. And people out there know that we two different motherfuckers coming from two different angles, two different perspectives. I think how you see things is you have a vision of something in your brain, right? And if whatever it is how you see it or how you perceive it doesn't match what you see in your brain, then you immediately sort of have a critical eye to that thing. And for me, I have that same, like, yeah, I wanted to be bigger than, you know what I'm saying? Or I have these ideas of how it should be, but I also recognize that there is a growth in between that shit to get us here. And that is beautiful to me. And I'm willing to, like, each one of those steps is part of the process. To me, that's how I see it. So each little bit of growth is part of the process for this thing as a whole and for us as individuals.
So and thank you for that. Because I think in my mind, I'm looking at a very simple thing. A part of being hard on myself is also a part of being honest. But I also have to add I have to add grace and forgiveness to that piece of it as well. And that's something I'm really learning how to do, bro.
Right.
And I swear to you, it ain't, I talked about it on the Buck thing, man.
Right.
I know I'm okay with losing, bro.
Right.
I just want to make sure that we left it on the field and that we were not, and that we gave it our all. And when I sit back and I think some of the times about what we're doing, what I'm actually being critical of isn't the outcome as much as it is the effort and the attention that went into that quote unquote failure or lack of achieving the objective. And sometimes because it's that level of scrutiny that I implement to actually be better. It's like with my job, it's like with sales. I don't think a loss is a loss if I learn something from it and I'm able to implement it in order to improve my probability of success at the second shot. Okay. But I do consider it a loss if I lost and didn't learn anything and didn't and I'm unable to apply a new thing to increase my probability of winning. I still hate losing, don't get me wrong, but so sometimes when I'm sitting back and I'm looking and we don't do a thing and we don't complete a task, it's not the fact that we didn't complete it. It's that I know that we didn't do, I know that we did not do our best to improve our probability of success there. And that is what I'm critical of. I am willing to lose with you every goddamn day if we leaving it on the field. Because the reality is, I know we ain't gonna lose every day. There's no other thing that I have ever done in my life over and over again that I gave my all to that I did not fucking win in. Right. And so if we lose, if we miss this deadline, or if we spend more money over here in this area because we didn't ask the right questions to get what it is that we needed to get out of it, that's the part of it that I'm actually critical of.
Okay. I get that. So the theme or the idea of this episode about perfection and what that looks like and what that means, and how that can sometimes, can it? Maybe that's a better approach. Can it stop your progress because you instead of the perfection being in a progress, the perfection should be in the thing, right? Can it impede your progress, or can it sort of make you not look at the perfection in the progress? I think and what that means and what that looks like and how that, and I think it's good for us to have this conversation because we were talking about this before the podcast started. We black dudes, men, I guess people, but from our perspective, us being black men, don't have these kinds of conversations. It don't build in this kind of way, right? So I think that's part of how this whole thing works too. And
I think for me, man, it's what is the individual's relationship to the thing, and
what do you mean in terms of how you view that another individual's relationship, or how your relationship?
Your relationship. So like, what is our relationship to this podcast?
Right.
And for me, that's what it's about, and not necessarily where we end up, but what our effort is. I remember
you're saying effort in how you're receiving someone else's effort, or are you talking about your own effort?
I think it's all gonna be. It's like your kids, right? You hear people talk a lot about. I know my kid, right? You'll hear them say, "Oh, I know my son. I know when he gave his all, when he did." Right. An adult is 100% clear and okay with assessing that child's level of effort,
right?
Because of their relationship to the child, and because of what they know, because of and what they understand level of effort to be, right?
Right.
And so, I think it's a two-way street, because I think it's especially when you're in a partnership. It's like when my ex-wife, bro, she used to say all the time, and I didn't understand it. She would say, "You're not in this marriage." I didn't understand what the fuck that meant. Right. I agreed with her in hindsight, but at the moment, at the time that she was saying it, my reaction to that was, "What do you mean I'm not in this relationship, in this marriage? I give my money, I deposit it in the savings accounts and bank accounts and all of these other things. I'm here. I ain't fucking around with nobody."
Right.
You know, like, I had a set of standards that I thought reflected what being in a quote unquote marriage looked like. But her relationship to it was different. So she could see where the disconnects were from my perspective, even though I thought I was in it.
So she could see the disconnect from your perspective?
No, from her perspective.
Okay.
So when she would say, "You're not in this marriage," I would say that's not true. But in hindsight, I was not in the marriage.
Okay.
So when you're in a partnership with somebody, there is a certain level of evaluation that is taking place between the two people and as the individual yourself. So when I'm saying perfection, there is no such thing as perfection from my standpoint. So I throw out that idea, but there is something in my head that I strive for that can shift. It doesn't have to be a fixed thing, but it is something that I strive for. And what determines whether or not that is successful, because I think that's what I determine more than anything, success more than perfection. And that is the level of effort put into achieving it. If that occurs from my perspective, that is perfect.
Okay. So, and success is based on
level of effort.
But level of effort is a work word. So let's use a work analogy.
How much energy I put into it? How much energy and time?
That has to be qualified and quantified. So if I say to you, if you at work and they say, okay, these are the list of things you need to, this is the effort, the list of things that you need to achieve for you to be successful. Like these 5 things, right? You know that going in. But if someone says, you know, in the middle, like, hey man, but that's not your perspective on it.
No.
If their perspective is different from your perspective, then there's a misunderstanding. So there needs to be a understanding about what I hate to use the word expectation because that's such a fucking about what we're trying to achieve in these moments. Because for me, I'm a little more, I guess, a little more free spirited in thinking that as long as we're moving towards it, we'll get there. However, we need, if there's a technical issue, we figure out what the technical issue, and then we fix it and we move on to the next thing. So my thought, and then we're always moving from week to week. We're moving through this thing, and we want to make adjustments, and we want to make things better, and we're trying to do all that while all that's happening, right? And I'm a little more kind of like flowing with it because I know it's going to get there, right? When I think you look at it a little different than I do. So if there's an idea, okay, we need to hit this by, the next joint, we need to get these things fixed. We need to figure this shit out. This is shit we need to do, right? That is setting up an expectation for success to you. For me, I'm like, all right, we hit it, cool. We not, we hit it next time.
For me,
but that doesn't make it less like I don't give a fuck about it. That just means that's just a different approach,
right?
To get to the same place.
So for my idea of success relates to the individual's relationship to the thing, and a lot of times that is an internal thing. So. But there are actions that are observable from the outside in. It's like,
but those actions are interpreted by you.
Always.
Right.
Yeah, but
that's
so
not what they are. So it could just be your interpretation of it.
Not at all.
Okay.
Similar to when somebody's looking at their kid and they know whether or not their kid did their best.
Right.
That's also an interpretation. So what we're looking at in a lot of times. So I'm in sales, bro, right? It is a performance-based metric where I tell you, you tell me, go bring me back $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. I go out and either bring you back $1 million or I don't.
Right. But the first thing that happened was they said to you,
bring
this
back
is
$1 million.
expectation.
So, right. So from an outside looking in, the expectation on the outside is bring back the $1 million.
Right.
Right. For me, as an example, just me bringing back the $1 million is not a win for me.
Okay.
I care about what I had to go through, what problems I had to solve, and how intimately I am engaged in the problem solving process of it. So as an example, I give you a prime example, bro.
Okay.
In sales, people just mainly spend most of their time shifting bullshit around. And every now and then your shit lands on somebody else's shit, and then somebody else's shit lands on your shit. So I could get a job tomorrow at a new spot, and a dude could have worked there before me for 1.5 years, bro.
Yeah.
Knocking down doors, getting told no, getting fucked all over and all kind of shit and with a customer. And then I start working, and then I pick up the phone from that person's efforts, right? Mm-hmm. And then they called me and be like, hey, I want to speak to Life. Oh, I'm sorry, Life left a couple of weeks ago. I'm actually his replacement. What can I do for you? Yeah. Oh yeah, we want to do buy $1 million worth of shit from you. Right. And I'd be like, okay, well, you want to schedule some time to do that? Right. And I go out and I reap the benefits of all of that motherfucker's hard work. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. I am going to get the paper signed, and everybody's gonna look at me and be like, that's the motherfucking man. Okay. Do I look in the mirror and say James is the man? Absolutely not. Okay. Because now if I had went and found that $1 million, right, or if I went and found a customer and sold them $500,000 instead of $1 million, right, and I help solve problems, I get groups together, I do executive briefings, and we do tours to all of this old kind of shit, and then I do it and I understand deeply what the customer's needs are. I'm closely related to what the problem is that I'm solving. Right. That's a win for me as an individual, because for me, what is a win? What it's about your relationship to the thing. And for me, that's what it's the same way with kids. There's no way a motherfucking daddy can go and take credit for Shaq or LeBron, whoever the dad was. If you ain't been in their life and now you see that motherfucker pop up talking about I'm Shaq's son, dad or whatever, and you ain't never been around, you ain't invested nothing, you have no relationship to him, But you want to be walk around with the title of Shaq's father? Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
But if you helped raise that motherfucker, sacrifice, put up with his bullshit, put up with his 7'3" ass, not doing his room and wrecking the car and all of that old kind of shit. Right. Yeah, you get that.
Right.
So for me, it's about the relationship. And that is literally with everything, bro.
Right.
Because for me as an individual, I want to strengthen and understand my relationship to these things. But that's my definition of what success is. And
right.
sometimes, and that's not perfect, by the way, because right. I think sometimes it comes off as perfect, but it's really, I'm trying to look and see how closely connected. And yeah, I've been talking a lot, so I'll just stop there.
No, go ahead, finish. You done?
So yeah. So it's about what the relationship is to the thing. I want my relationship to this podcast to be, and to the process of it, as intimate as I can. And that's not to say that I am connected and in tune to all of the different things that go on within it. And that's not to say that you're not. I'm just saying that in my mind, I know when we're being slight and when we're not. And even if we win not being slight, I'm critical because I know that's temporary. And I look for us sometimes to get into the practice of showing up perfect, meaning leaving it on the field, because there are going to be moments where we're going to be called to do that in a broader context. And I want us to have all the practice in the world in the way that we are now. So when that happens, we clear. And on top of that, we owe it to each other. Right? If we're going to go up in front of these motherfucking gigs and show up and show out and be consistent and be on time and follow through and all of that kind of stuff, we don't love them people. We barely like them.
Right.
And we show up in this way. I'm like, we love each other, bro. We family.
Yeah.
So, and we're building something for us and for our people. Right. So why can't we show up in the same way?
Right.
With no excuses.
Right.
Because here's what I believe, bro. If I let you get down, I'm letting me down.
Right.
I'm done letting me down.
Right.
Literally in my life.
Right. Right.
No more motherfucking excuses for me. I done gave up just about each and every single one, and I done told them to myself. I done told them to women. I done told them to family. I'm out of excuses.
Right.
As it relates to that, and I see my relationship to you as a relationship to myself.
Right.
And so if I'm selling you short, I'm selling me short.
Right.
If I'm selling the podcast short and I'm selling the things that we're doing in that area short, I'm selling myself short because I'm choosing to shift my relationship to the thing. God damn, I feel like I'm talking a lot, bro.
I get it, dog. That makes sense. But again, all that's clean, dog, and I get what you're saying. So in our conversations about perfection and the difference in the perfection and the process, that is all part, in my mind, it's all part of that journey. It's a part of the journey as us, as this podcast is a part of the journey as us as individuals. And it's all growth process, like you said, like, getting out of that slight phase. And I think that we are getting better in all those things. Mm-hmm. Like, we are moving towards better in to me in every area. Are we at our best? Absolutely not. Are we as good as we're gonna be? Absolutely not. But we're definitely moving towards it. And like you, dog, all the shit that goes on, there's always a, and you're right. When we get these gigs, it's a little different, but we're there on time. We don't even, a lot of times we don't even like these motherfuckers. So that same level of commitment should be a part of this shit too. And when we go to work, like 9 to 5 type shit, you get up and go in that motherfucker that same level of commitment. And I think that, I think that it is. I think that it exists in the same, if not more, in the same sort of way. I agree. I want to make, for the purposes of our conversation, that when people, and let's take us out of it, and for people who are moving towards something, it doesn't have to be perfect for you to move in the direction of the thing. Like the process is just as perfect as whatever you think that the end result is going to be. And to your point, giving it your all is where that perfection is being committed to the shit and being, and it mattering is where the perfection lies, not in the end result of the thing. Because anything, when you start, it's going to be shitty. That's how it works.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you start to move, and I think you start to move and grow. And I definitely think we have, from the first episode to this one, have made adjustments and grown and better all around on the shit.
And that perfection could, and I think sometimes, because it could be like in relationships, all of this shit is really about, I think, what your relationship is to the relationships or whatever the case. Because even if you're an individual and you are in a marriage that isn't going well, and you looking for a quote unquote perfect situation, what does a person tell themselves about that? And that kind of also dovetails to what we were talking about before the joint. And a lot of the standards and a lot of the metrics that we use to evaluate these things aren't ours. They're someone else's.
And it's something that we can't live up to in ourselves.
At all. And so it's always a constant state, is a constant deficit. Like you operate from a constant state of deficit, of deficiency and inefficiency.
Both sides. So now you're looking at yourself with that deficiency and that other person.
Right. And so...
And this is in a lot of relationships.
Yeah, right? Like it's even in... I think it's across the board, right?
Absolutely.
So what helps me is just eliminating the notion of perfection being a destination.
Right.
Kind of to your point.
Yeah.
It's actually a journey.
Yes.
It's a process.
Yes.
It's the moments that actually make something perfect.
Yes.
What you determine to be a success are metrics that you should create for yourself.
Yes.
And set and understand. And a part of one of the ones that I do for me is what I am giving and how much time I am spending on something.
Right. Right. And also understanding, the key to that is understanding, and this is what you spoke to about the grace piece. If you give yourself that metric or that whatever it is, that level of, if you define that for yourself, and you're doing it and you're moving towards it and you don't quite make it, that's cool. You can do it again tomorrow. You can do it. So don't, there's no like, okay, I didn't get it, so now I'm gonna fold and not do this shit no more. You have to get up the next day and do it, because failure is part of it.
Yeah.
If you're hitting every goal, then your goals aren't high enough.
Yeah.
You should be at some point hitting and also falling short.
And the person,
so you know how to stretch.
And as you are setting high, lofty goals and having high expectations, there's some people who are going to say, "You trying to be perfect out in this motherfucker," right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's good to have mentors, bro.
Yeah, man. It's clean.
It's really good to have mentors when you're not working with someone, because again, our default is slight.
Yep. Yeah.
Niggas ain't waking up in the morning, bro, figuring about how they gonna be David Goggins some shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a rare individual.
Yeah, the voices that we have are always voices of doubt, fear, and
yeah. Your point, what can I do just to get by? Like if I get a new job, bro, and I get that $1 million sale and I didn't do no work, right. I still feel empty inside.
Right.
But if I went out and left that shit all out and I didn't cried and stayed up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, driving and flying all over the place, trying to rally people together and solve problems and put my best motherfucking foot forward.
Yeah.
Like, and expand it as a salesperson, as an individual, I won. I don't give a fuck what the scoreboard says.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's my relationship to it. And so understanding what the metrics are as a person, and then because to your point, and I think you said something earlier, the process is perfect.
Right. However you move
but what is your relationship to it? Because you can be intimate. Like, your child is perfect.
Yeah.
But how close of a relationship do you have with your kid?
Yeah.
You still got work to do as a parent, no matter how perfect that nigga is.
Yep.
If you ain't close, if he don't share, if y'all don't talk, if y'all don't hang out, who cares?
Yeah. Yep.
We got to see some of this shit, bro, like our babies.
Yep.
If you wanna be with that, like your relationship to your wife, what's your relationship to her?
Right.
Like, how much time are you investing in it and growing it, as opposed to judging all of the shit that's taking place in it and who she's not and who you're not.
Right.
And letting a lot of those patterns repeat, man.
And that's the key, dog. When you say who you're not, like we look at this shit from who we are and who we are not, and how we look at the other shit is based on that. So and it's funny how the more, like, when we meet those goals, and those successes come, then there should be a re-energizing or a rejuvenation of feeling like you can now get to the next goal. So it's almost like when you work out and you know what I'm saying, you get stronger for the next time, and then for the next time, and then the slight and the excuses start to dwindle because you feel confident in what you're doing, right? But if you wake up with that voice in your head all the time that you can't do it, and then you don't, then that is what the opposite is true. Then you start to that is where you exist. Yeah. Right? So you can choose to exist. And again, dog, it ain't gotta be you ain't gotta get up and motherfucking run 55 miles a day. It could be small, it could be little shit. And then the next thing, and then the next thing. It's that, and that's perfect. That's the journey. It's moving forward in however you need to move forward.
A part of my perfection that I struggle with, that I'm coming more to terms with, is I know I am more than I accept in myself.
Wait, break that down.
So I know I can do 100 push-ups, bro. But I'll probably only do 50. So if I really wanted to push and do it, could I do it? Yeah. But how do I feel about James knowing that I can do more and don't? So that's the concept of perfection.
Right.
That simple as story
right.
is a narrative that I am beginning to repeat less.
Okay.
And embracing the fact that, yeah, I'm doing 50. I could do 100.
Right.
That's cool.
Right.
I'm going to do 100 when I want to do 100.
Right.
But that's a relationship to that. Mm-hmm. Because before I would judge myself, mm-hmm. you are a piece of fucking shit for not doing 100 push-ups. And I would walk around with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let it turn into insecurity.
Yeah.
Let it turn into negativity
Yeah.
and all of that shit. And then the next thing you know, I ain't shit and ain't gonna never be shit.
Yeah.
And that because that's where those thoughts lead.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that to say that the idea of perfection for some people isn't necessarily, it's acknowledging the fact that you can do more and that you can't. But because you can't doesn't mean, because you don't do it doesn't mean you're not perfect.
Yes.
It just means you're choosing to not demonstrate your best. And there are times in your life where you will be able to do that when you want to.
Right.
And there'll be moments that will be justified in your mind. And you can tap into it whenever you want to.
Yeah.
A motherfucker like David Goggins, bro, want to tap in like all the time type shit.
Yeah.
And that's cool because that's who he's choosing to be. But we get to choose it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, the it's something. Like I said, dog, it ain't got to be nothing, you know, it's just got to be something. And you can't have those conversations that you're a piece of shit and I do nothing. Like if you did that 50, you know, I'm good with it. You know what I'm saying? I feel good about the 50.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. But, you know, you can't just do nothing. You gotta always be moving forward in some way, dog. Not really forward, but you gotta be in motion in some kind of way.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. And you gotta find strength in whatever motion whatever step you're taking, there's strength in that. There's a motion, there's a movement, it might not seem that you're getting far, but it's a step. And the only way you get from A to B is one step at a time.
Yeah, I'm glad you.
And that's individually, as a team, whatever your relationship is, as a team, as a crew, as a business, as whatever it is, it's all about those moving shit forward and that level of communication with yourself and other people.
I'm glad you chose the topic today, bro, because I think it was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is something that I struggle with, and the idea, because a part of perfection, like I was saying before, bro, is not like the doubt piece.
Yeah.
And then the grace of not even so much of who we are is so much of who we think we are is wrapped up into who we are not.
Yep. Oh man, that's deep. That's deep.
You know, like, and because in reality, like, who you are is perfect.
Yeah. Yep.
And I swear, man.
Yep.
Like, I think about that shit. Like, just saying that out loud.
Crazy.
Almost like it vibrates.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell myself that so often, bro. Because I walk around fragmented at times, and I have to remind myself that I'm whole.
Yeah.
And I'm not broken. I'm not imperfect, because I have to remind myself that's just where I'm at.
That's part of it.
And that's a part of the process, which is perfect.
Yep.
So you see, goofy motherfuckers, fragmented, talking about perfection.
Yeah, sometimes, dog, that perfection is also what we lay on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to try. Like, we just see the shit as so far away and so fucking beyond what we think we can do that I can't. I'm not even going. I'm gonna sit right here and, you know what I'm saying, wallow in the fuckery, in the bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And continue to be destructive to myself. And not understanding that even if you're trying to get there, dog, it's steps. Every step of the way is there's a process to getting there. Nobody ever gets to anywhere, just snap their fingers and get there, dog.
And that's the thing, I think, too, bro. And that's a key point. Where are you and where do you want to be?
Right.
We ain't built no motherfucking transporter bays and shit from Star Trek where we beaming up. Ain't no Scotties.
Right, no Scotty.
Ain't no Scotties beaming motherfuckers up.
None.
If you want to get
Yeah.
to point B,
Yep.
you have to walk.
Yep.
That requires a process.
Yep.
And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about being perfect, to your point,
Yeah.
is the process.
Yep.
You don't wake up tomorrow
There.
Nope.
And if you gotta crawl, if you gotta roll, if you gotta motherfucker do the worm dance, to get there, or however you need to do it, if you gotta crawl one day and the next day you run and the next day you motherfucker roll twice and that's all you got, it's all perfect, dog. It's all part of it. And it's all for a reason. Sometimes you take those small ass steps, dog, because there's something that in those moments that you need to absorb or that you need to notice, and it needs to you need to study that thing. That's why those smaller things are there. Sometimes you breeze right through the shit, but it's all about taking those steps, dog. That shit is strong.
It's hard body.
That's strong, dog.
Like your socks.
Hey, man. Julius Erving. Shout out to 76ers, man.
Who?
Julius. Dr. J?
Who's that?
Internets. Look, this man.
I know who. Don't do that, bro.
Come on, man. How you not going to know who Dr.
I know who that is, man. Don't do that.
Okay. You said it.
And you believed it.
Yeah.
Fake news ass motherfucker. Tell him anything.
Oh, man. Hey, we going real segment that we haven't visited in a long time, dog. You said you would take Ghostface Killer over the field.
No.
That's what you said.
I said that Ghostface, if I was going to be a rapper, it would probably be Ghostface. It ain't necessarily his lyrics, it's just his steed, bro. It's his vibe, it's like his attitude, like all of that kind of shit. Now, that has nothing to do with lyricism. I ain't saying he a whack lyricist, but like him as an entity, that's my guy. So
over everybody.
Ghostface as an entity, it ain't fucking Meek Mill. It ain't Jay-Z. Nah, man, like that. Even when he got dog, and I like Action Bronson.
How you go from Meek Mill to Jay-Z?
I don't know, man, because I don't know. So, like when he stood in that video and played Be Real and amazing. Check Action Bronson.
That was amazing.
I love that.
That was one of the greatest things
I love that. Hey, and that's some shit I would do.
And he did not rap. He just talked.
Dog.
Over.
Hold on, dog.
He just talked over Teddy Pendergrass, dog.
First of all, you little fat fuck, who gives you the right to even mention my name out your motherfucking mouth? Bro, you done made a mistake, boy.
I think that was one of the greatest moments in it.
Featuring Teddy Pendergrass by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes and Teddy Pendergrass from Tidal.
That is your problem. You're always saying the wrong thing at the right time. See, I'm tired of people going behind our backs, talking about his woman this, his woman that. She ain't this, she ain't that. So listen, as long as you live, whether you're with me or not, be for real.